Dear friends of Pax Europiana, now officially the Austrian People's Petition, that's a public tool to ask for NATO membership, has been launched. And I ask all friends from NATO countries who are residing in Austria and who have the right to vote in Austria, all Austrian citizens, to sign this People's Petition to bring Austria together with Sweden and Finland into NATO. Of course, it's a bit more complicated because of the huge Russian influence and also Serbian influence in Austria. But I call on all friends from Bosnia, from Kosovo, from Croatia, from Poland, from the Slovak Republic, from the Czech Republic, from Hungary, from Slovenia, and all Germans who live in Austria to convince their Austrian friends to go and join NATO, because we are not different than all other Europeans who are already in NATO. It's only Malta, Cyprus and Ireland, together with Austria, left over as so-called neutral countries, whereas Cyprus really wants to join NATO anyhow. They are blocked for division, and there's other complicated issues with Malta and with its own socialist reality. And of course in Ireland the division of course is also an issue. But we are not a divided island. We are in the middle of Central Europe, and why should we outsource our security to the Slovaks, to the Hungarians? We should also defend ourselves and no longer be a bad role model for Serbia, which says, let's be neutral like Austria. In reality, they are with Russia. And unfortunately, in Austria, also a lot of people are secretly for Russia. Some less secretly, like in many of the political parties of the extreme right and of the extreme left, and that's very unfortunate. We must be in NATO, united in Europe. It's now almost all Europeans in NATO, and it's just very small countries actually left over for historic reasons, mostly connected with the British and their relation with Ireland and Malta and Cyprus. But Cyprus, for example, has already 3 big military bases of NATO, Turkey and of course of the United Kingdom on its territory, and Austria has no reason to stay neutral anymore. Historically, that might have been necessary in 1955 to get the Soviets out. They insisted on neutrality because they wanted to build a neutral belt from Sweden towards Yugoslavia, Greece, Turkey. That was their idea. It didn't work out, and Stalin has died, luckily, before they could make more pressure. But they had, of course, made this offer also to Germany. But Western Germany was smart enough to choose NATO membership under Adenauer, and he was very opposed to the Austrian neutrality deal, even at that moment of 55 when we signed it. Actually, do you know we had to pay for it? 150 million in dollars, in that money, that time. That was a lot of money, and also 10 million tons of oil we had to give the Soviets to leave, and we had to accept this neutrality. It was a deal under duress. The left has not allowed Austria to join NATO in 95. They were asked, but they said no. EU yes, NATO no. But in fact, we are the same. It's 2 pillars of the Western world, the one for defense, the one for prosperity, economics and politics. And so it also makes no sense to build a EU army parallel to NATO. We have this defense alliance that works very well with our really very important American and Canadian allies. That is also much more meaningful. Of course, we should also develop Frontex in a more militarized border control area to also have more assets available built by the EU itself, by EU budget, then directly available towards defense of the European borders against the Russian aggression. But that's basically the task of NATO. It's not the global power projection, but it's the defense of free Europe against Russia that it is since 1949. And that is also very important, as we see in 2002, under such brutal attack our Ukrainian friends are again. I call also for Kosovo and Bosnia to be in NATO, and we should build an alliance together to join, to contain the Serbian aggression, and we need also to have the support for Moldova one day also to join NATO, and of course free Ukraine and free Georgia to join NATO. They are already aspirants, and we should also do that. We have now, like all Eastern European transformed countries, a military partnership with the US National Guard of one, I think it's Fairmont, and they are like the partner in this. It's also a sign that the military is getting ready for NATO accession, and they should, because if we have not, man, it's for me anyhow a mystery of this, why we are so close to Russia all this time, depending of course with this fear of Russia and with the neutrality concept, and to be a bridge to Russia, that the money flows into the pockets of the politicians. I understand all these aspects, but it's not very morally justifiable just for corruptive and personal benefit reasons, like Leitl, Schüssel, Kneißl and Kern and how they are called, and all these big guys. The moment they are in the government, they get acquainted with the Russian officials, they obey their wishes, and then they are safe for the long-term future, because then, of course, the Russians keep them on their payroll. That must also change, and also we must clean up in the NATO membership process our security apparatus, because seemingly there is also every month comes up a new scandal of people working for the Russians and betraying our secrets to state secrets, state personal data to the Russian Secret Service, and that's also pretty outrageous and criminal. And so the reform process which most countries are doing, and that's why I'm also absolutely first for NATO membership, then for EU membership, because NATO has then the tools, the defense establishment, to screen the security apparatus and bring it towards the Western world as well. Hello Serbia, there will be no way Serbia can join the European Union without prior NATO membership. To be very clear, and please stop aggressing Montenegro, Bosnia and Kosovo. That is very wrong. And here the solidarity, let's not forget, actually it's Austrian soldiers already now which are serving in the NATO missions in Bosnia and Kosovo, and the EU mission in the case of Bosnia, but to keep this country's territorial security strong and untouched by Serbia. So here comes the point. Historically, I have outlined, I think, some of the things with Stalin's cunning plan after the defeat in Korea, then to neutralize Central Europe. It worked only in the case of Austria. Even Yugoslavia, he basically lost because of his ambitions to topple Tito, and Tito turned towards kind of southern Austria, northern Yugoslavia. I always make this kind of remarks, but it was a kind of gray zone in the Cold War, Austria and Yugoslavia, and it was not good. So what we need is full Western integration. I asked many politicians in Austria to lead this campaign for full integration. I devoted to Alus Mock. He would have certainly led Austria into NATO had he run for the 92 elections. He managed to get Austria in the EU, and Erhard Busek supported him with this, and even Vranitzky, we have to credit him for that. But that the logic is then to fully complete the Western integration, especially in the light of what happened 2022, this brutal war of conquest and territorial land grabbing of Russia. That is absolutely clear that we should now join NATO. It's open for all Austrians to go to this. It's online, you can do it online, just a click with your digital signature, and please do that. It's time for Austria to be a normal European member state inside NATO. Thanks a lot for that, and more to come from Austria on the way to NATO. Bye.